So originally I'm from Australia and I studied there and then moved to the United Kingdom and I lived overseas for 10 years there. And I worked at British Telecom in strategy, so driving growth and innovation and data. And then I moved to New Zealand and I worked in a consulting firm working with a range of organisations across New Zealand, helping them with their growth strategy and understanding customer needs. And the reason why I came to the Real Estate Institute is it's around understanding our members' needs and the consumers' needs across the industry. How do we leverage data and innovate across the industry? Well, it's very different. I didn't work in property in the UK. I worked in telecommunications, and so, but it was very different. I bought property there and experienced that. But I'd say that it's great being in the property market in New Zealand. I think there's a lot going on and there's been huge opportunities in the country. Well, it depends on the stage in the cycle as well. I mean, I've always bought property or sold it when I genuinely need to, and I always recommend for people to do that, is when they actually need to do that rather than trying to time the property. And so I guess, it's a long-term strategy. So I think you can go well in any country if you know where you are in the market. So what we're seeing in the market, so overall, the market is in a stable place, but we've really seen a very big difference depending on where we look in New Zealand. So for example, Auckland, we've seen Auckland stable for 3 years now, and sitting at around 850,000 median price every month for 3 years. And I guess what we've seen though in some of the regional areas is strong growth. So last month we reported in Gisborne it went up 50% year on year. Hawke's Bay, double-digit growth, around 20%. So what we're seeing is a very strong growth in the regions. It's because they're more affordable and it's because they have great lifestyles and people are moving to those areas. And with increased tourism as well, people are really seeing how beautiful New Zealand is and wanting to move there as well. Yeah, well I guess what we've seen, so looking back a bit, we have seen a lot of uncertainty in the market because of the changes in legislation. So there was a potential capital gains tax, we've had a lot of legislation impacting investors, so healthy homes, insulation, and so that's impacted those decisions. Now we know that capital gains tax is off the table. We may see some renewed energy in the market, particularly in that Auckland market, particularly with those investors that were holding back to wait to see what happened with the capital gains. We've got record low interest rates for New Zealand, which is opening up opportunities for people. And also, we have less pressure on the market. We have a market where people can take their time and look at different properties before they make a decision. And so I think that's a really healthy place for people to be able to do their due diligence on property. So going forward, we'd expect to see strong regional growth still continue. There's still got some catching up to do. And we may see Auckland coming up again at the end of the year as well. We said that they expect the market to increase by around 20% over the next 4 years. Yeah. So that's not unreasonable to think about that, and it may increase over the next few years, particularly if interest rates stay low. If people can get access to money, that's the question.
Oh, that's key.
It's hard with the banks at the moment because they're being very prudent on their lending. So that will impact what's going forward. I think there's a bit of global uncertainty at the moment. So I think depending on what happens in the global markets as well, there is cases of that. So people are moving to the more affordable areas. So $850 versus $450, you can get a lot more for your money, and they're beautiful areas to live in. I think that in Auckland though, we actually have seen some sign of some areas cooling, so coming down a bit. And to put that in perspective, prices have gone up over 100% in the last 10 years. So a little bit of cooling is not bad. It's a little bit of moderate growth. Cooling. So we've seen opportunities for first home buyers to get into the market. So I do think there's people moving to the regions more and more at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, some investors may think that, but ultimately it's designed to improve the standard of the quality of our homes. So New Zealand has a lot of homes that are under the standards, so don't have good insulation and not heated properly, that really we need to look after people's health. So it's all about trying to improve the health of New Zealand, so people don't get sick, that children go to school still, they're not sick. So I think actually ultimately this is a good thing for the country. I know it's a cost impact for some investors, but that their houses will be improved over the long run. Well, I think that it's not just the healthy homes. I think it's because there's so many changes at the moment in terms of legislation, particularly impacting investors. So they had changes in letting fee structure, they had insulation requirements, they've had healthy homes requirements. We're doing a review of the Residential Tenancies Act. So because of this, there's increased cost. And so sometimes people think that's just getting too hard. I'm not making enough yield and capital growth. So it really impacts their decisions. So we have heard of some investors leaving the market, but we've also heard that now the capital gains tax is off the table, there's some renewed energy in it. The lack of supply, as well as the affordability levels of property. And so they're quite unaffordable for a lot of people. And it's had that huge price growth over the last 10 years. But some of the reason is we need more properties to keep up with the level of demand. And we've got initiatives such as Kiwi Build, trying to build more property, but some of these initiatives are very complex and not building properties quickly enough. So that's why the country needs to be open to new ways of building, so prefab or innovative technology to try and build houses more quickly and efficiently. So we're estimating around 104,000 properties under supply across the country and around 46 to 50,000 just in Auckland alone.
Yeah.
We've got positive net migration, so more people are moving to the country. 56,000 positive net migration. So we've got more people moving in and we can't keep up with the level of demand already. Sure, I think that for home buyers and investors, I think for home buyers, really just buy or sell property when you genuinely need to do it. Don't try and time the market, and because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So we think, do what's right for you. Do your due diligence, make sure you can get money from the bank, because with the increased being more prudent, it's very important that you actually get access to funding. Also, making sure that they go and see as many properties as possible and understand what's going on in that local market. How are properties selling, what are they selling for in that market? Go to open homes, speak to a licensed real estate agent, just do lots of research.
Yeah. Got this.
And investors, the same thing, it's all around what their strategy is. Is it a capital gains strategy or is it a yield strategy? And I think that's a very important aspect to work out what's your strategic focus. And I think there's a lot of opportunities across Auckland, especially. I think with a little bit of cooling in some areas, it's opened up opportunities for people, and there's less pressure on the market. And also, there's great new apartments that are being built. Fantastic apartments over transport hubs, close to shops, close to schools. I think that's a fantastic way to enter the market. They are.
Yeah.
And so I think that the culture around apartments is changing. And originally everyone wanted a block of land, but because apartments are being built, there's fantastic apartments out there with great links to transport, I think they're increasing in popularity. And so the data we're seeing is they've actually increased from about 9% of total properties sold or bought in Auckland to about 12% now. So they are actually growing. And the unitary plan has opened up opportunities for more apartments to be built.